Hello everyone, I am Alex and I am a multidisciplinary artist based in Montreal, Canada from Venezuela. The video today is going to address the emotions of anger and rage within the context of art and creativity. In other words, life. Because life is the biggest masterpiece you will ever do. You are the artist and the creator of your own life. So welcome, human, because all humans are creators and artists. Rage and anger. Ooh, what is she gonna say about this? Oh my god, what are we doing? In the context of art and creativity, what is happening? First, let's talk about what rage and anger are for me. Pretty, I think, straightforward. First of all, rage and anger are emotions. To me, very much linked to the element of fire. It's fiery, it's potent, it is powerful, and it can also be scary, both for people witnessing it and for you feeling it as well. You might be actually afraid of your own rage and anger. But yes, it's quite potent and intense feelings that are part of the spectrum of human emotions. I think there's a lot of shame attached to feeling or at least showing, expressing these emotions within society. Because I think it has the potential. I mean, it has been misused by a lot of people. What do I mean by this? I think anger and rage can have the potential of turning into or transforming into violence. And this is where I think it's very important to address this already. Anger and rage are not equal to violence. Anger and rage are on themselves just emotions that most humans have felt at least at some point in their lives. Violence is an act of intention, with the intention of harming others, other beings, of destructing. Even destruction, I don't necessarily see destruction. Like, we can see maybe anger and rage as used as wanting, or like the moment of wanting to destruct some of our old stories, right? Like destroying our old stories or our old beliefs. That is using destruction in a positive way. But what I mean, and I really want to make the difference between anger and rage and violence, like violence is intended to harm others, and this is not what we're talking about. We are talking about anger and rage as human emotions that most humans can relate to. So now that I've talked about what and how I see anger and rage, let's talk about art and rage. Let's talk about anger and rage in the context of art and creativity. This is where it becomes interesting. I was thinking this morning of how art can be both a catharsis or a tool to help you express and transform those energies into something beautiful or a creation, and help you just let them out. But it can also, those emotions can also affect your own, let's say, like vessel and body, or your capacity, or your easy or not so easy access to your own creativity. So what I mean by this so art, let's talk first as art as catharsis. I think it's, you can think about it in so many ways. You can maybe like imagine this writer that is, having these emotions and just writing a piece about what they're feeling, or a painter that is just, like overwhelmed with some emotions and and painting something that is inspired by a certain emotion they're feeling, and specifically rage and anger. But I think most importantly, I want to address rage and anger here in the context of expressing them in a healthy way that allows you to cleanse your body and allows a quicker access to a clear passageway between feeling centered and a clear mind and wanting, like, accessing your creativity and your own creativity and your own essence, basically. Because if you think about emotions are meant to be felt and expressed. They're not meant to be stored in our bodies. And even just thinking about an emotion, okay? This is how I see emotions. Emotions are part of our physical body. They are somatic. So when we don't express them, we start to accumulate them in our bodies, and that causes all kinds of things, like discomforts physically in our body, but also perhaps like a clouded mind, or I'm sure a lot of you can relate to, if you have this unresolved emotional thing or conflict, you think over and over about something and that clouds your mind, it doesn't leave space, or it's harder to connect to those parts because these scenarios or these emotions are wanting to come out. They're saying like, hey, I am here, acknowledge me. So because I see emotions as a somatic experience, I think it's very important to try to keep our bodies as, flowing as possible, and as creators to keep our bodies as clear or cleansed, in the sense of, like, as the emotions come, feel them, acknowledge them, observe them, and express them in whichever way. There's so many ways of expressing them, right? And express them in a healthy way. And because there are so many taboos, and because there's so much attachment of anger and rage to violence or scariness, or even shame, I want to address, I want to basically share some tips on things I have really recently started to include in my own practice. And I wouldn't say every day, but as I go, as I live maybe frustrating or situations that spark those emotions within me, I have to counterpart and address those emotions and let them out in healthy ways to keep my body flowing and to keep an easy access to that creative spark, and ultimately to that joy that I personally want to create from. I want to create from play, from a sense of joy, from a sense of fulfillment, from a sense of wholeness. That's where I want to create from. So in order to be able to access that, I have to clear the way. This is another point. I mentioned that emotions are a somatic experience, and I want to share some tips that have personally helped me a lot because they are somatic. Because emotions are a physical sensation, I think that, just observing within my own circle of people and just things that I've seen going around, I'm so happy, that a lot of people are talking about now, like going to therapy and talking about their feelings, or just feeling comfortable opening up more, and yeah, like just accessing therapy. I think therapy is like has such a big spectrum. I think most people, when they're talking about therapy, are talking about, accessing a psychologist or psychiatrist and like getting support from those people. I 1000% like respect those practices, and if that's a practice that helps you and that you feel called to go, like by all means, go there. I think that I felt it was important to share tips and things that have helped me, because I have personally struggled with therapy. I just felt like it just wasn't enough for me to, it didn't clear me enough. And because I feel emotions physically, I realized that some of the practices that most helped me liberate myself really from whether it was like specific moments that were causing me these types of emotions, but also just, liberating me from just an emotion. It had to be somatic experiences as well. And what I mean by this was like including my body in expressing itself. So not just intellectualizing an emotion and being like, I am angry. No, like including my body in the expression of that emotion. So a couple of tips that I want to share with you today on expressing rage and anger in a healthy way are I actually have for this one I had a little bit of notes, so like how to go about for this video. But the first exercise that I want to share with you is just the screaming exercise, or just the screaming outlet. And the screaming outlet is, again, I feel it's just like, I've really wanted to talk about this because rage and anger are so, it's hard sometimes to even find like a place where you feel safe in expressing what, again, sometimes might be or feel quite intense. And, we have specific limitations. Like in my case, I have neighbors downstairs. I don't want to necessarily like scare them or bother them with screams, or so it's like maybe you have to do a little extra like movement or find a place where you feel safe in doing this. But one of the things that has helped me to stay, like, for example, within my home, but not necessarily bother other people, is just to scream like in my pillow, or just like a scarf or just something fluffy. And that has really helped. So to start off, if you're not at all used to screaming, or you don't want to bother anyone, or you're scared that like what people are going to think of you, or you're crazy or whatever, you can start off like, I'm going to get myself a little prop so we can do it together, okay? So here we go. Got a little sweater here. And if you want to just like warm up your vocal cords, you can go like slowly and a lot more loud and just let it out finally. Another thing that has helped me is to put music on where I hear people like screaming, like metal works super well. And that kind of entices you to join them in the screams. I specifically like the song Killing in the Name of Rage Against the Machine, because it starts kind of like slowly, and it starts like, it evolves from like wanting to conform, at one point, what is it? Now you do what they told you. Now you do what they told you. And in the end, you're like, if you won't do what they tell me, So it's very satisfying. So this is that first exercise of just starting slow and ending in a scream, and then you scream as you go. Okay, so let's do it slow and with a big woo. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and actually it can be quite funny. Like, it's actually kind of funny. So I'm having a lot of fun trying this out for the first time. Then when you're ready, you just go full on, let's go full on. And obviously think about that thing that is, or maybe you can even not think about anything. It's sometimes like just good to let whatever emotion you're feeling out, or whatever your body wants to do, without even knowing necessarily where it comes from or what's causing that. And one last thing in terms of screaming it out. Ooh, very important. Okay, this really, really helped me. And it was to scream my needs. Like, generally, I feel if you're feeling rage or anger, it's because there's a specific need that's not met, or an outcome that you didn't reach, or there's some kind of disappointment or frustration, or again, like, no. And when I mean again, it reminds me a little bit of like the failure that I talked about in the past video, because it's really like your expectation doesn't match the outcome. So that can also cause, you know, rage and anger and frustration. But when you connect really like to, you know, your emotion and what's causing that, like, for example, let's say like your need that's not being met, you felt disrespected, let's say, you can scream out your need. Like, I deserve to be treated with respect, okay? So that's one of the affirmations, let's just say, or one of the things, or one of the needs that you have, like, I deserve to be treated with respect. And so you can scream that out and it feels really good. Or let's just say like, I deserve better. Okay, let's do it together, okay? 1, 2, 3. Very good. Very good. And then the last tip that I wanted to share with you was also like involving, and this is again like using art as a catharsis, is like also using art that has already been created to help you get into that mindset, or to help you like purge out any emotion that you're feeling. So I mentioned Rage Against the Machine, the Killing in the Name, and then one of the songs that really gets me wanting to move and also entices me to scream with it, because you hear her scream, is the song Crazy by Doechii. What an amazing song. And I just like, you know, if I remember, it's a little bit in this BPM. For those that don't know, I'm also a DJ. So yeah, it's like, it really makes me want to stomp. Also, if you imagine whatever is annoying you or frustrating you right there, or you just want to like let your emotions go to the floor, you could just stomp it out, you know? I can't really stomp right now, unfortunately, because yes, I do have neighbors here, but I did it yesterday in the park. And it just felt so powerful. You're let it out. I'm angry. Let it out. Stomp it out. And I think the song just goes like, at one point, or it starts with just like a ha, yeah. And those kinds of sounds, like if you move with those sounds that are very like directional, and I would almost say like sharp, you know, like any sounds, or like ha, are very directed, like cutting, you know, you really, it's an emotion that is sharp, and you just want to cut it out of your system, of your body. And imagine, like, one of the things and visions that really helped me is to imagine like whatever situation is frustrating me or getting me angry, and just cutting it out of my life, you know? Like, if some of you watch or like know a little bit of tarot, there's the Queen of Swords, and I just imagine like this big sword, like sha, you know, cut it, sha, yeah, cut it, yeah, stomp, bah, taka, sha, you know, let it out. It's meant. There's no shame, okay? Everyone gets angry and feels rage at some point, and the more that we accept it and acknowledge it, and we just accept our wholeness as a humans, the better. The freer we are, like, and just the more connected we feel, because we're all the same. We're all like engineered the same way, you know what I'm saying? Like, we all have a different personality, and that is beautiful because we complement each other in that sense, but we're all made the same way, and there shouldn't be any taboos around it, and we should learn how to express it in a way that is healthy, in a way that doesn't hurt anyone, and in a way that we can direct it towards something positive. Like, anyway, those are the things that I wanted to share with you today. Very different type of video. I have no, guys, I honestly, this is probably like the rawest way I have ever expressed myself as an artist, as a person, as a creator, as a human. For me to do these kinds of videos is so, my past self would have been like, what are you doing? But I'm really like, I just don't have any energy anymore to be something that I'm not, you know, or I'm not saying that I was fake in the past. It's more, I just don't have energy to be anything else, or I just want to show you this part of me, you know? I just want to be authentic and be myself and show you that part of me so that it can also entice you and encourage you to be yourself in all your beauty and all your wholeness, in all of the light and dark. We're everything. Like Doechii says, I'm everything. Yes, we are. So I hope I hope you're enjoying these videos. I'm enjoying them so much. Like it's very freeing, it's liberating, it's full of intention of really helping you and at the same time sharing my journey with you. And yeah, like let me know if you like this and if you relate to this, and maybe even some things that you've tried that have helped you, you know, like deal with these emotions, or just like face these emotions or express these emotions in healthy ways. So with this said, I wish you a great day, week, month, and lots of love. And until next video, take care.